We can ask our next guest what he thinks. Eliot Shorr-Parks, sponsored
ESP.
by Cozy Jewelers. Step up to the 50. That's color, cut, clarity, carrot, and cozy. Eliot, how are we doing today?
Man, I love the Christmas music. I love it in the hallways at work. We got the tree up already at work. Get you in the spirit for the best time of the year.
We ain't even had Thanksgiving.
I agree, Eliot. It is time. It's time to get ready. And it's certainly
Thanksgiving
time for
is just, yeah.
Are you
Thanksgiving is just a speed bump on the way to Christmas.
Is that
it's
what
a
it
fine
is?
holiday, but it's just the beginning. It's the beginning of the Christmas season. It's the appetizer to the real holiday. Yeah.
I agree with you, and I love Thanksgiving, but I agree with the way you assess that. All right, Eliot, as we look forward, we hope and look forward to the Eagles' offense getting better. Eliot, do you expect this Eagles' offense to be better as the season goes on?
So I think there's two ways to look at that. The first is, do I expect this to be an offense over the next 7 games of the season that gets in the high 30s or even to the 30s consistently? I don't think they will be that. I think they're too banged up on the offensive line. I think there's a long enough track record of the running game struggling this year. And I think the passing game is what it is. So I don't expect the offense to turn things around. But the difference to me, and maybe where I have a different outlook than other people on this, is I still think they're going to the Super Bowl. Ultimately, when they have to score, I think they will score. As bad as they were on Sunday night, and they were not good, I don't think it's a coincidence that they scored their first touchdown of the game right after the Lions scored their touchdown. I still think this is a team that when they have to get it, they'll get it. So I don't expect it to be pretty, but I expect it to be good enough the rest of the year.
Eliot, how big of a loss is this version of Lane Johnson? I mean, typically that would be a silly question. Like Lane in his career, it's actually correlated to wins and losses more than any other kind of non-quarterback around here for a long time. But I think it's fair to say Lane this year has not been the Lane of 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. All things considered, how big of a loss do you think Lane is, let's say, for the next 4 to 6 weeks until we get other news on what his timeline could be?
So he's definitely a loss. There's no question about it. I think he's probably still been their best offensive lineman this year, even though, it's not a high bar. I think the offensive linemen themselves would tell you they probably have all not played that well. I think the difference between losing Lane this year and losing Lane in other years is they're used to playing without Lane this year. He's been in and out of games. He's missed games. He's left games early. I'd imagine during the week he's probably not taking too many team reps, to keep himself healthy and then playing on Sunday. So I think a difference can be that with Fred Johnson, he is going to, in theory, knock on wood, like he'll play all the snaps. He'll practice during the week. And so one thing this offensive line has lacked is continuity. And I think that with Fred Johnson now, they can maybe start to get some continuity. Even if the player's not as good, I think that could still help the line.
You know what, Eliot, I'm kind of curious. How do you think it's going to affect the running game, being as that they had the six offensive linemen out there, the bigger guys, and now that Lane's gone, it's going to kind of mess up that rotation a little bit. How do you think that affects the running game?
Well, I think it affects it, but they're not really able to run the ball now. So it's not like they're losing a part of their offense where all of a sudden you're not able to lean on it. They've not really been able to lean on their running game all year. And I think the six-man group, where it really hurts them, in my opinion, is now when you run that six-man unit, and I don't think Cam Jurgens is going to play on Sunday. We'll see, but I don't expect him to be out there. And as a result, your top three backups on offensive line are going to be on the field for a lot of snaps. So if you lose anybody else, now you're even thinner. I mean, they're one snap away from Drew Kendall going in at center, and some of these other backup offensive linemen that are far down the depth chart. Now, it's hard for any good team or any team at all to have 8 good offensive linemen. Most teams can't even find 5 good offensive linemen. So I don't think it's a slight at the front office that they're thin at offensive line. It's a hard position to find. But that is really where the 6-man line that they've been trying to use could hurt them, is that you are now using so many of your backups regularly.
Eliot Shorr-Parks with us here as we dissect the Eagles after a big win over the Detroit Lions, Dallas this Sunday. We'll get to that. Eliot, before the game on Sunday, we're doing the pregame show, and we were talking about the defense, and you said, you thought this could be better than last year, and it was met with a lot of come on. Now, after watching the Lions game, what they did to the Green Bay Packers, where do you stand on this defense? Eliot, the last 2 weeks have reminded me of last year. It feels like last year where They are smothering. They seem to be ahead of whatever the other offense is going to do. And I was watching that game Sunday feeling like they had a tremendous Lions offense at a point where they were broken. Like they broke that offense the way they did to the Chiefs last year, the way they did to the Commanders last year, the way they did to the Packers last year. It reminded me of last year. How high right now are you on this defense compared to last year?
I think they're better. I think this is a better defense than the defense the Eagles had last year. And I know that sounds hyperbolic or like it's reactionary. And I understand this defense has a ways to go to accomplish what last year's defense did. But in terms of talent, I think this defense has more talent on it. Last year's defense won somewhat unconventionally. They won by the back four, back five, or really back seven, I guess, being the strength of the defense and the front four not being the strength. This year, the front four is the strength of the defense, and the back seven is still good, but they are winning over these past 2 weeks, and I expect them to do it moving forward by dominating at the line of scrimmage. And in the Super Bowl, they were able to do that last year's team, but it's not something they did consistently. So I think it's pretty clear over time in the NFL. It's a proven fact. You win on defense, and you're a great defense by winning at the line of scrimmage. And this year's team, I think, is better at that. I think Jalen Phillips is better than Josh Sweat. Jalix Hunt's a better player than he was last year. I think Moro Ojomo is playing better than Milton Williams did last year. Not Milton Williams this year, but Milton Williams last year. So I think when you just go through the team, they are a better defense this year.
You know, as I recklessly speculate, Eliot, I want to kind of bring you in on this.
Love it.
What do you make of the story that D-Gun dropped talking about Eagles? Some people in the organization are kind of fed up with Jalen. I know I'm probably being a little hyperbolic in the way that I'm describing it, but they're a little bit upset.
It sounded kind of like that to me.
Yeah, a little fed up.
Yeah, not that hyperbolic. So I think there's two things to look at with this report by D-Gun. And first, I'll say Derek Gunn is maybe number one on the Eagles reporter list of all time. Like, there is not many reporters that have done a better job or contributed more or been correct more than Derek Gunn. So I definitely take what he says seriously, and I think anyone that's covered the team or been around the team for the past 2 years, I guarantee you nobody heard that and thought, wow, that's surprising. Like, maybe there's different variations of what people have heard, but there was nobody that heard that and thought, I'm shocked to hear that. Now, in terms of what it means, I don't think it's a good thing that people in the building are leaking things about the quarterback. That's just never productive, and it's not a sign of a strong locker room to an extent, at least in relation to Jalen. But I also think what Derek Gunn said in terms of Jalen's impact on the passing game is true. And I think what we need to accept about Jalen is, like all quarterbacks, he has strengths and weaknesses. And right now, the thing everybody's trying to figure out, like, why is the offense struggling? One of the reasons is because of Jalen's weaknesses. And the weakness he has is, consistency in the passing game. Sometimes he holds on to a little too much. He doesn't throw it into tight windows. I think the middle of the field is definitely an area he doesn't like to throw the ball to. So those are weaknesses of his. Now, what I would encourage the person who said this about Jalen to do is look at his strengths. And I think his strengths has also led to a lot of wins for this team. He does not turn the ball over. He covers up for the offensive line quite a bit by getting out of pressure and making big plays with his legs. He does throw a good deep ball. So I think that we can accept what was said about him is true, while also accepting and knowing that that is a weakness in his game, but he has strengths as well that has helped this team.
Yeah, I agree with the way you assessed it. I mean, the issue is it's coming out, right, like that, and that makes you wonder about a whole bunch of things. Why this is getting to D-Gun? Why then, who wanted it out there? And D-Gun obviously doing his job reporting it. Eliot, we want to end with something just to get your take on. But first, what's your feeling on this game Sunday? Eliot, I got to tell you, I've got some trap game vibes as I look at this game. It is a weird spot on the schedule coming off of two really hard-fought games back-to-back. They got the Bears on a short week afterwards. And now they go to Dallas here, and I don't think they're going to lose the game, but I also don't feel they're going to blow them out the way I probably would have said 3 or 4 weeks ago, with Dallas adding some players back on defense and coming off a win Monday. Eliot, your feel on this Eagles-Cowboys game Sunday, and has it changed as the last few weeks have kind of moved along?
So I'll say this, that in my experience covering the team and being at all these Eagles games in Dallas over the years, I think it's the hardest place for them to play in the NFL. I'm not saying it is the hardest place to play in the NFL. I'm saying for the Eagles, it has been the hardest place to play in the NFL. Not only do they lose there, they often get blown out there, and the defense really struggles there. So I think this is an excellent litmus test for the Eagles. We're going to find out how legit the defense is, and we know the defense is good, but if they can go to Dallas and shut down a team that in 4 home games this year has scored over 43 times, they are electric in Dallas, that offense. So we'll see how the defense goes against that, right? And if they can shut them down. But the flip side of that is we'll see how this offense is, because they're in a dome. The Cowboys defense is bad at basically everything if you look at the stats. They have a good pass rush. Quinnen Williams was a good addition, but they are horrendous at almost everything else. So if the Eagles can't move the ball against the Cowboys defense, that is a big time red flag for me. So it is a good game to see where this team truly is, and part of that is because they're playing in the best atmosphere, which of course is a dome, so you don't have to worry about the wind or anything like that. We can watch true football.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't need that, but everything until there, I was with you on. All right,
football at its best. Yeah.
Now stop. Before we let you go, we need to get. I need you to tell me your reaction to this. And is this a thing at the NovaCare complex we're not used to? Let's take everyone back. This is part of the Jordan Mailata show on Monday with you and Spike and Jordan Mailata. And it's a conversation about Jalen and the leak and the Derek Gunn report. And it sounds like Mailata is agreeing with you, Eliot, but he refers to you by a name that I've never heard anyone call you. Let's hear it.
I'm on the same wavelength as you, Eli.
Eli. Is that your name around the NovaCare complex? Is that the alter ego that muscles out McMullen for questions? Tell us about Eliot Shorr-Parks.
Well, the funny thing is, I've been on this earth for 38 years now. I've never had a single other person call me Eli. So this is a first-time thing. He's been doing it for about a year. I think it's I'll get my name shortened, but I'll get E or L. I don't ever get Eli, right? So he's been calling me Eli for over a year. I will admit there was about a month where I wondered if he knew my real name was Eliot, which I would assume he did. I've known him since he got here in 2018. But, I think it's a nickname. But now the question is, do I start calling Jordan Mailata, do I call him Dan? Do I shorten his first name to just a completely different name as well?
No, I wouldn't do that.
No, you wouldn't suggest that? Just still call him Jordan? Yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do.
Are you considering a rebranding with Eli? Could this be a thing, or is this just with you and Jordan?
Well, considering I'm the reigning Eagles Insider of the Year, I'm not really sure I need a rebrand.
Okay. No, you heard him.
John McMullen said he would agree after what happened last week. All right, Eliot, Eli, we appreciate you hopping on as always. Have a good rest of your week, and we will talk to you Sunday for the pregame show.
Sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
There he goes. Eliot Shorr-Parks. What do you think's going on with it? Do we think Jordan, even though he's known Eliot since he got here, which is many years ago now, do you think Jordan thinks Eliot's name is Eli?
I think he knows his name. I think that's just the relationship that they've cultivated over the years.
Yeah.